Things have changed a fair bit heading into Season 2 for Retribution Paladin. So if you want to learn how to play Retribution, guess what? You're in the right place. So today we're going to cover talent builds, spell priorities, and decision making that really matters if you want to put up big numbers and contribute meaningfully to your raid. We're even going to cover some cool stuff like optimal bonus roll pathing 2, and all the changes that really come with the patch. But let's briefly touch on Blizzard's new philosophy and some of the class changes before we get into things like talents and rotation. So what changed? In 12.1, almost all DPS classes have had their cooldowns and damage profiles changed. Damage has been shifted out of cooldowns like Avenging Wrath and moved into regular rotational abilities. It's probably a healthy change for the game overall, but for Ret at least, it has a pretty limited impact. Speaking of healthy changes, we're also now less reliant on having the Sky Fury buff, so you won't always have to have a shaman in the group. When taking Crusading Strikes, we now no longer generate additional holy power from that extra auto attack from Sky Fury. To compensate, Crusading Strikes was buffed 35%, and honestly, it's a pretty big change. We auto attack very quickly. This change does force us to play Crusading Strikes in every single build we run. This does create a better flow of incoming holy power, and it is more consistent with Art of War procs. I think it's a pretty good change. Speaking of good changes, our Apex talent now allows Art of War or Righteous Cause to stack up to 2 charges. This is a massive quality of life change for us and puts less of focus on immediately using Art of War when it happens. Moving forward, we should munch less of these procs if playing correctly, and that's pretty great. Templar had some weird changes here though. Hammer of Light now costs 3 holy power, down from 5, and it did feel a bit odd initially, but with some time and practice, it's going to feel normal again. It's not a huge change, but it is something of note. And all of the other changes outlined here just move damage around from our burst windows into our regular rotation. This is going to make our profile slightly more flat, but the trade-off is our damage will just be slightly higher all of the time rather than our burst window. I think it's probably a win overall, but we'll see. I do want to address the elephant in the room here though. On the patch launch, Ret is not tuned particularly well. We're simming right around 200k, and that is substantially behind other classes, and quite frankly, Ret desperately needs a buff. As with previous seasons, Blizzard is going to do tuning, maybe some as early as Friday, and it's going to ideally get us in a more competitive spot. So it's not time to panic, changes will come, but right now, you might be a little bit lower than you're going to end up being. Before we dive in further though, I do want to have one reminder here. The content of this guide is subject to change. Blizzard nerfs and buffs things all the time, and new things get discovered. So do keep an eye out on this specific channel for future updates, and don't forget to look at your written guide resources like Wowhead or Icy Veins. And if you haven't already yet, join the Jesir TV Discord as well as the Retribution Paladin Discord linked below. So let's lay the groundwork here with talents first. I think it's a core foundation to build on the rest of this guide. For better or for worse, Retribution has had limited talent choice in Midnight. You're going to have a set of core talents you're always going to pick, and based upon your encounter or situation, you're just going to swap a few points around. We are playing both Templar and Herald of the Sun this tier. Templar does better single target alongside burst AoE, where Herald of the Sun definitely shines with sustained AoE. You're going to play both. So I'd encourage you to check out Warcraft logs for the most up-to-date player-driven information, because things can change week over week as people learn and adjust how they play fights. But let's start with Templar. Here's what the talent tree looks like. The orange points here are mostly non-negotiable. If you're hitting multiple targets or are in Mythic Plus, all you'll do is you'll swap Heart of the Crusader points for the purple icons here. You'll also want to swap Divine Resonance to Quicken Invocation and Seal of the Templar to Divine Exaction. You can go one step further and swap Jurisdiction for Sanctify, but I think that trades off a bit too much single target, but we'll have to sort of get a feel for it what numbers are going to be like in a real environment, not just on the PTR. Herald of the Sun is similar, but it has one thing that's going to be a little bit different. You're always going to take Tempest of the Lightbringer if you have the new 4-piece. Due to how the 4-piece interacts with Divine Storm and how Herald really leans into Divine Storm damage, it's going to be worth it to take that node on single target. I know it's a little bit weird, but it's worth it. Similarly, you're going to remove points from Heart of the Crusader to pick up any of your purple AoE nodes here. There isn't a ton of choice for us. For the majority of our talent selections, they're just going to be locked in. We will likely swap between Templar and Herald of the Sun based on fight requirements, and as of current tuning, I could see a world where we play Herald of the Sun on Lost Explorers and Twin Fangs because of the sustained 2-target nature of the fight, but we'll have to see a little bit closer to the end of this week what tuning we might get. Maybe more fights if the fight design synergizes well with the damage profile Herald of the Sun brings. We'll see soon. But I will note, if you somehow luck into getting your raid to give you power infusion all of the time, Herald will definitely be a great option. Power infusion scales way better with Herald of the Sun than it does for Templar, and if you're playing Herald, you're gonna want it as much as humanly possible. The reality is, it's likely gonna go to another ranged DPS. If we're buffed by a huge amount, then great, maybe you'll be the recipient, but we'll see. So let's talk fundamentals. The fundamentals for Retribution haven't really changed much since Midnight's launch. The core gameplay loop still focuses on building and spending holy power through use of a priority system. If you have an ability available that's high priority, you're going to want to use it and then move on to the next logical choice. It's all about building holy power and spending holy power and wasting as little as possible. Because some of our talent interactions, we're usually going to want to spend holy power really as soon as you're able to do so. And here's a quick list why. Auto attacks generate holy power, and by spending at 3 holy power, you're going to keep your gains consistent. You're never going to munch those gains from crusading strikes. Final Verdict can also reset Judgment and Hammer of Wrath. So by spending early, you might get your generators back faster. And then auto attacks can proc Art of War, and that's a high priority buff that you want to consume very quickly, and it generates 2 holy power. We'll get into more of the details in the rotational section. In short, we generate a ton of holy power, so you really want to spend it as soon as you can to minimize waste. It is worth mentioning what our 2-piece and 4-piece are going to do this tier, since it's going to impact our rotation conversation here. The 2-piece is going to let Divine Purpose proc more frequently and provide a pretty good bonus to holy damage. The uptime is pretty favorable on this set, and it does smooth out the rotation by having free spenders. The 4-piece is a bit different though. When you consume Divine Purpose, your next alternate spender is going to activate Divine Arbiter and get a big burst of holy damage. So if you use Divine Purpose with Final Verdict, you can activate Divine Arbiter with Divine Storm or Hammer of Light. The opposite is true as well. If you consume Divine Purpose with Divine Storm, you'll be able to trigger Divine Arbiter with Hammer of Light or Final Verdict. It just lets us do a 1-2 combo with every Divine Purpose. There is some nuance to when we do this with Templar, but for the most part, the logic here is going to be set in stone. But let's talk details. I'll have 2 sections for this, one for Templar and the other one for Herald of the Sun, because they are slightly different. Your choice of hero talent will impact your spell priorities, and I'm going to outline them here. As I've mentioned before, we are going to play both hero talents this tier, but let's start with Templar. Starting with the opener, this is going to be your launch sequence, and it's going to be the same every time, and it's identical to what we did in patch 12.0. You'll start by applying Expurgation with Blade of Justice, follow up with Execution Sentence, then you'll hit your Wake of Ashes into Hammer of Light combo, and lastly you'll finish with Divine Toll, and that will allow you to enter into our normal rotation priority. For this normal rotation, you're going to want to prioritize using Hammer of Light when available, spending holy power when capped, using your Wake of Ashes Hammer of Light combo on cooldown, and then you're also going to want to keep Divine Toll synced with cooldowns where applicable. For our main holy power generation, we're going to want to rely primarily on Blade of Justice and the Art of War procs, and then we're going to fill downtime with Hammer of Wrath and Judgment. There is some nuance here now that Art of War and Righteous Cause stack to 2, but if you're at 2 stacks and less than 5 holy power, you're always going to want to send the Blade of Justice to prevent munching. Otherwise, you're just going to use it when it's available. Crusading Strikes also gives us a constant flow of holy power, so you're going to be spending at a pretty frequent rate. So as of recording, our tier set 4-piece can be ignored when playing Templar on single target only. Hammer of Light activates the bonus, so we don't really have to play around it. If this is buffed in the coming weeks, we'll likely have to change our rotational priority. However, right now, we don't need to. If we are playing Templar in any AoE situation, we're still going to have to rotate our spenders. The rotation is mostly the same, but we're going to place a high priority on activating Divine Arbiter through your alternate spender. So if you're AoEing and you consume a Divine Purpose with Divine Storm, you're going to want to spend your next 3 Holy Power on Templar's Verdict or Hammer of Light to activate. It does a meaningful contribution to AoE, so you don't want to mess that up. Herald of the Sun, compared to Templar, is mostly the same, but it has 2 major differences. The first is Hammer of Wrath is prioritized during Avenging Wrath to activate Walk into Light. Walk into Light simply will consume any Blade of Justice charges you have at the same time you use Hammer of Wrath. Just means more damage. And the second thing is Herald will always try to activate the Divine Arbiter buff. Whether it's single target or AoE, you're going to want to activate it. And Herald has a slightly different opener, but it's very slight. Instead of having your Wake of Ashes Hammer of Light combo, you're just going to weave in Final Verdict to activate Divine Arbiter. For AoE, there's almost going to be no difference. And for Herald of the Sun, it's the single target rotation, but you're using Divine Storm instead. The key thing to remember here is you'll alternate spenders when consuming Divine Purpose. As a related but important note, your first Final Verdict in Avenging Wrath will also trigger Empyrean Legacy, so do keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, it's really about keeping your cooldowns on cooldown as much as possible and optimizing your 1-minute burst windows. If you do that successfully, you'll be in a good spot. And remember, any holy power wasted is lost damage, so try not to waste holy power. So let's shift gears and talk more about character prep and some of the related topics. The first of which is gearing and bonus rolls. Bonus rolls are back this tier and things got a bit weird. The best thing you can do right now, for the large majority of players, is to take a bonus roll from your weekly Great Vault every single time, with a couple exceptions. This gets you guaranteed high impact gear and crest saves, and everyone's going to target slightly differently based on how progressed you are, but the goal is to use your coins where you're going to get the highest DPS on average. And then you're going to want to target some rare gear too. So here are some of the high priority pieces that you're likely going to want to pick up. Maze Roa, the axe from the Coiled Altar, is massive. It's got a great cantrip effect, and if you're coining it on Heroic, it's going to give you 1 out of 6 Mythic gear. So you can spend your crest and upgrade this thing and give yourself a best in slot weapon all the way up until you killed Coiled Altar on Mythic. For a lot of guilds, you're only going to kill Coiled Altar on Mythic once when you extend. So the goal is, get this weapon, upgrade it, and you're going to use it for the majority of the tier, at least until you would coin a version on Mythic. The second priority item is Zul'jin's Guillotine Technique. Also from the Coiled Altar, this trinket pairs incredibly well with Maze Roa. You get an additional cantrip effect, and it cleaves to a secondary target. Since secondary targets are relatively present through this entire raid, call it ad slop if you want, but there's a fair bit of it, you're always going to get some high value from this trinket, so it's well worth targeting. The third and fourth options come from Ulatek specifically. It's the Akirbane Reliquary Neck, which has an additional socket and a cantrip effect, both of which are very strong, but not as strong as the trinket or the weapon. And the legs from Ulatek, the Unbound Rancor legs. Those have a nice mastery bonus and are worth picking up, but it's not a huge impact. I will give a special note to the Heart of Ulatek trinket off of Ulatek. It's very good, we want it, but it's not as good as some of the other options here. And do keep in mind, you're still going to receive loot from your regular raid progression. And we're going to have coins coming in the 12.1.5 patch, but your priority, at least for now, is to always target the gear that will make the most impact and is difficult to acquire. You're filling out those slots that are going to be critical, which are weapons and trinkets, because they're big contributors to our DPS. Weapon being the biggest one. And so as of recording, my plan is going to be using my first couple of coins on Coiled Altar on Heroic. And this will guarantee my best Mythic weapon and trinket. The other pieces on that loot table are still good since you'll get them at a 1 out of 6 myth track, but you're not going to get a crest save with those. Really, the best possible scenario is you spend 2 coins and both of the coins get you Maze Roa and the trinket. Otherwise, you might have to wait up to 5 weeks to get what you need, but it's worth it. These items are really good. The other special thing is this is going to allow you to skip crafting a weapon and to go straight into other crafts like the Loa ring as well when crests are available. It's going to be a little bit weird this tier, but we'll get through it. So let's briefly touch on stats. You're going to prioritize mastery with haste and crit being about equal. Verse is still the worst stat for us. This is a general rule of thumb, but your best bet is going to always be to sim your character in Droptimizer to see what upgrades are going to be the best for you. This is even more relevant because the Catalyst now maintains the stats of an item piece. So if you want to catalyze shoulders and they have haste and versatility on them and you catalyze them, yes, you get the tier set, but you also get the stats. This just gives us a lot more, we'll say, fine-tuning in our stats. There are some good items we can pick up, like the shoulders from Murder Row, the gloves from Den of Nalarak, and the helm from the first boss in the raid. Everything's going to be different based on what stats you currently have, but using the tools you have available will make a big difference. Our consumables are going to look slightly different this time around. But yet again, run your character through raid bots and see what's best for you. There are situations where you might switch your weapon to a mastery enchant, gems to the flawless masterful parados, and our potion might end up being the potion of recklessness instead of light's potential. That's all going to change based on what gear you have. One of the things I will note this tier as well is a lot of our damage is coming from external sources. So you're looking at things like Zul'jin's technique or the venom dot from your weapon and other related things. So mastery, while it's still a really good stat for us, doesn't help those other abilities scale. So that's why we're going to see an increase in things like haste and crit on our gear, because haste and crit impact other non-retribution damage sources. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope this guide has been helpful. To join the Jesir TV community, do check out the Discord. You can join through using the link in the video description. If you would like to support the channel further, Patreon is the best place to do it. It gets you some exclusive access to things like log reviews, Jesir Radio, and more, and it really makes this channel possible. Best of luck in the Venomous Abyss and Season 2 of Midnight. We'll see you in the next video.